It's the funny thing is like people like Don Alt and the others that will make fun of like the cult of Hex and everything like that don't understand that that's exactly what makes it so valuable. So let's turn our attention to the main topic. So is Hex at minus this ecosystem at minus 98%, the laughing stock of crypto? And part of the reason that we wanted to bring this up tonight is, Hex and Richard Hart products have basically been kind of the redheaded stepchild. The censorship on ranking platforms and things like that. Big Twitter influencers always like to dunk on them because they know it'll give them engagement. And I just sent it to you, Ewok. If you could pull it up and share it on your screen, I just sent it to you on Twitter. I put it in the chat too, but I also DM'd you. So I don't know how many people know who Don Alt is, but he is one of the trading hosts on what the hell is the name of the podcast? I used to subscribe to it, but it just became kind of mundane every single week. The Weekly Open. But it's three dudes. Cred is one of them. Brian actually is the name of the host, and Don Alt is the person we're talking about here. So he's a Frenchman, I believe, and he is a BTC trader. And weirdly, kind of came out of the woodwork today to dunk on Hex. So it's funny. I assume I saw this because Sami replied to it, so it probably ended up in my feed. So if you are getting that pulled up, I don't know, Ewok.
I'm pulling it up. I had to.
Go ahead.
I got you.
I'll read it at the same time. So Don Alt, who has said before, and I have heard this too, he has said it before on the podcast, that he mutes Hex and criticizes the people in the community and doesn't want to hear anything about it. So he evidently manually went and unmuted Hex today anyway and said, "So is Hex completely dead now? Can someone that is I'm not going to use the R word here, but we'll say tarded enough to keep up with that dumpster fire give me the latest drama?" People defending Hex by saying you would have made money if you got in at the bottom have lost it. It was built like a pump and dump from the start. The only money anyone made is off suckers after you. It's blood money, especially if you promoted it, making you part of the problem. Now this third tweet's my favorite part. This is where he hedges his bets. This is one of the projects where I'm entirely price agnostic. The price can go up or down 1,000,000%. The underlying thing is still the same and obvious for everyone to see. So now, Hex could go to $20 this bull cycle, and Don Alt's still right, everybody. A token made to make Richard rich that will eventually fail. And the beautiful thing is, Sami then actually took a screenshot of Don Alt saying some shit about Hex way, way back in the previous bear market before things really took off, and ratioed Don and got more likes than his original tweet.
Yeah.
So
you see this? You see this? How I handled that right here?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I do see how you handle that. Yeah. That's good. That's fine. But I think it does bring up a bigger point. Yeah. Obviously, Don's just he's one of these people that's going to be an influencer. Like literally, their podcast used to be sponsored by FTX. Okay, before the disaster happened, and then they took it off there, and we didn't know anything about it, which I'm sure they didn't. But I'm just saying that these influencers with sponsorships and referral links and shit like that, they need to also get paid through Twitter. And hey, I'm glad that Elon did implement that. I mean, I am glad that there is that function in there for content creators, I guess, if you want to call it that, to get monetized and paid now. But you are going to see more of this kind of stuff when it comes to Hex because we've seen Bob Lucas been doing it, which is just cringe every time he does it. But they tweet about Hex because they know that you're going to get more engagement, plain and simple. I mean, like, I can just say from like the earlier days of this channel, like talking about some other cryptos and stuff like that, all you have to do is like make a thumbnail that has anything dealing with Hex, Pulse Chain, anything in it, as opposed to like Polkadot or some like, boring ass coin nobody cares about anymore. Like you're going to see 10 times the engagement just because it's on there. And it's the funny thing is like people like Don Alt and the others that will make fun of like the cult of Hex and everything like that don't understand that that's exactly what makes it so valuable. That's
Sure.
what they just do not understand. And I know none of us are like offended by the word cult anymore or care about it and whatever. But I don't think they understand that, like, yeah, that's actually what is valuable. I mean, again, this guy's a day trader. He's never going to be somebody that gets involved in HEX or anything like that. But I want your take on all this, Ewok. I know, obviously, you don't care about Donald's opinion, but I'm curious as to, like, the bigger picture as we head into this bull cycle. Do you think HEX will remain kind of the redheaded stepchild that it has been to as far as like the opinion of some of these big influencers until they capitulate and start buying it, especially I think Pulse Chain?
Yeah.
Or do you think the legitimacy of like having a layer one and stuff like that now kind of changes people's perspective? Or somebody like him won't even understand that Pulse and Hex are, you know, kind of within the same ecosystem.
No, they don't.
Yeah. But what do you think?
They don't take enough time to listen or read or anything. A lot of them just parrot information that they've seen before. And the longer this stuff goes on, the more we realize that the ones calling Hex a scam or Richard a scammer are the ones that all have been involved with people losing their money. It keeps playing out over and over again, whether they were sponsored by FTX or they were getting people into Celsius or Luna or whatever it was. The majority of these people that call Hex what they call it have been trouble. And unfortunately, you know, I don't think that's going to change, at least not this cycle. You know, if so, we kind of go back to this SEC thing. If Richard were to fight it and win, I think it may help a little bit. But is it worth it? Is it worth it to miss a cycle? Is it worth it to spend all the money on a team? You know, I just saw Freddie Quotes post earlier something about, you know, you're not going to agree with me, a lot of you, but I think we should just settle and move on, get over with it, because I don't think it's really going to change anybody's opinion of what Hex is. And I kind of agree. I kind of agree. I agree. You know, the more I think about it, the more that we don't. But, you know, Richard talked enough about how EOS paid the fine and moved on. So hopefully, you know, that could be a little precursor to what we see coming. But back to the whole thing, I still think a lot of these guys see Hex as a threat. Once Richard called it the better Bitcoin, they took offense to that. And they don't want people jumping ship, realizing what Hex is. You know, I think they'll attack it for as long as it's out there. I really do, until it gets to a point where there is no arguing anymore. It's not under $1. It's been around for 3 cycles, 4 cycles, you know, whatever it may be. I think that's how long it's going to take, unfortunately. And I don't see anything different. You know, the Bitcoin. Listen, every crypto has its maxis, and a lot of times they are protecting their bag, and that's what they are. For us, I think it's a little different. Yes, we're protecting our bag, but we're also protecting, you know, the players too, because we know what self-custody is, the immutable contract, you know, the trustless yield, things like that you really can't get anywhere else without a bunch of risk. So yeah, I think it lasts for a while, and no matter what it does, you know, it will always have a pullback probably, and they come out of the woodwork again. You notice they get really quiet during a bull run when things are going really well. So
yeah. that's the thing.
That's what shuts them up. Green candles really shut them up. So
what does it really gain you? Like, how do you look when you victory lap something after the result has happened? You know what I mean? Like, what, like, right now, victory lapping Hex like this, like, oh, see, I was right. And then saying in the same sentence that it could go up 1,000,000% from here, I'm still right. Okay. I mean, I don't have an answer for that. I just don't understand what that logic is. And you're right. Whatever Hex does in a positive light this next cycle, regardless of how positive it could be, there won't be any acknowledgement of it. It's just funny, like kind of the selective memory or viewpoint that people want to have just to confirm whatever they believe, I guess.
Yep.
And I just don't think, look, a guy like Don Alton, we've said this before, Bob Lucas, same thing. They're apparently at places in their lives where this kind of thing doesn't matter to them, and the gains of like trading Bitcoin. You know, I hope Don realizes the diminishing value of Bitcoin, and that, you know, the day trade, like he's going to have to revert to even more shit coins. But you know, I just don't think that they're at a point of their life where something like this isn't going to be important to them, you know, and I don't
Yep.
think they really
Yep.
care about the true ethos of crypto, and they celebrate Bitcoin ETFs and stuff like that. And that's just going to be the way it is. So, you know, you can't really hate on them too much. And I wouldn't hate on them too much. They're in different walks of life, and it's just not something they want or need.
Right.
I just think that you're not really accomplishing much by like shitting on it when you already have the confirmation that the price is down. I mean, it's like, that's not very impressive. Yeah.
No.
So anyway,
Yeah.